this guide to hiring women was very interesting. You can tell there were still some mixed feelings. They were saying that husky women were more even-tempered. They also said, pick young married women. They usually have more of a sense of responsibility than their unmarried sisters. They're less likely to be flirtatious. They need the work or they would not be doing it. They still have the pep and interest to work hard and deal with the public efficiently. Give the female employee a definite day-long schedule of duties so that they will keep busy without bothering the management for instructions every few minutes. Many companies say that women make excellent workers when they have their jobs cut out for them, but they lack initiative in finding work themselves. Give every girl an adequate number of rest periods during the day. You have to make some allowances for feminine psychology. A girl has more confidence and is more efficient if she can keep her hair tidy, apply fresh lipstick, and wash her hands several times daily. And the reactions there were some positive. They were more positive than negative. The women felt that they were helping to win the war, and they also liked working with their friends and making their own money so that they could be more independent. And the negative reactions, initially the men didn't like the women taking their jobs because they thought women couldn't do as good of a job, which showed in women's pay, which is still often less than that of men. Mothers had difficulty balancing schedules with young children at home. They had to hire babysitters or use daycare. And this comic came out of a diary of a Rosie that I read, and this woman kept breaking the drill press, and this guy, I think her manager, got so mad at her, he asked her, helping Hitler again, huh? But she ended up actually doing well later, and he called her babe. And what? Thank you. Oh. And I need this. And this panel, my reform panel, because of the Rosie's we have improved safety and the social reform. That improved safety, the conditions could be dangerous, and some women didn't have good training, but training became better as tasks were broken down, and implementing safety rules made factories safer. And factory conditions changed to fit the women's needs. Women's bathrooms and longer break times were added because men were told to treat the women well, obviously. And the social reform, the women during this time changed fashion. They showed that they didn't just wear dresses and makeup. They could get dirty and do men's jobs. And the changes eventually, gradually came to women in the workplace. I interviewed a couple Rosies. One of them, named Maxine East, worked at Clark Flooring winding armatures for airplane motors during the war, and she didn't like that women couldn't get leave. I had to quit every time I had a baby. You didn't get any seniority when you were gone. Today they can get seniority. And I also interviewed another Rosie named Noreen Flickema, who worked at Norge Machine Products and Anaconda Wiring during the war. And she started out working at Anaconda Wiring. And she wanted to go on leave to see her husband in Florida, and she asked her boss if she could leave, and they were like, no, you can't leave, I need you here. But she did get to leave, but she had to quit. They made her quit to go visit her husband in Florida, and later, when she got back from visiting her husband, she had a family member working at Norge Machine Products, and she got a job there. And later, the unions called her and told her that they had no right to fire you. You can have your job back at Anaconda. But she didn't want her job back at Anaconda because she made 40 cents an hour working at Anaconda and $1.20 at Norge.
Wow.
Big difference. And I have a chart right here that just shows since the war how much women's jobs have risen in separate age groups. In 1963, John F. Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act, and today equal pay for women is still being promoted. And while many of the 6 million Rosies returned to being housewives and stay-at-home mothers after the war. Others stayed in their jobs and helped start the women's liberation movement in the 1960s. Today, thanks to these revolutionary heroes, 58.6% of the workforce is comprised of women, including NASCAR racers, mechanics, judges, astronauts, and CEOs. And this toolbox right here is, I interviewed a Rosie who worked at Remington Arms and Continental Airlines in Colorado during the war, and she let me borrow her toolbox, which is really neat. And this is actually a picture of her with her older brother and her mom. And this is my Aunt Billie's, great-great-Aunt Billie's badge. Well, she worked at Continental during the war. Yeah, oh yeah, and I have a scrapbook here of different things that I acquired while I was doing my research. And this is a certificate. I ended up joining the American Rosie the Riveter Association as a rosebud because of my great-great-Aunt Billie, who worked as a Rosie during the war.
Can I hold those for you? What do you want? This one?
Yeah. That's the downtown Continental plant in the 1920s. And this is the Getty Street plant built by the U.S. government in 1942. See.
This one?
And those are the Rosies that I interviewed. That's Maxine, and that's Irene, and that's Noreen. And these are a couple handbooks I borrowed from the Rosie who also lent me the toolbox. And I have a little comic there. Lucy's from Peanuts. She's talking. She says, "And so World War II came to an end. My grandmother left her job in the defense plant and went to work for the telephone company. We need to study the lives of great women like my grandmother. Talk to your own grandmother today. Ask her questions. You'll find she knows more than peanut butter cookies." Thank you. That's just a big picture of Billie. That's a Rosie the Riveter song. I won't sing it. I can't sing. That's just a little thing I found from the American Rosie the Riveter Association. And this is Campbell Wyatt Cannon and a couple ration tokens from during the war and a ration booklet. And a book about woman power and women's opinions on women power, husband's opinions on women power, and women's status in unions during the war. And this is a Muskegon storefront during the war. If I wore bonds at Grossman's.
Got that same picture.
And I actually got special permission to tour L3 Communications, which used to be Continental Motors, where my great-great-aunt worked. And they sent me this before I went to Nationals. Good luck at Nationals, McKenzie, from your friends at L3. Can do it! Yes, and I think that's
okay.
it. I think I'm done.
You want to take some questions for her? Does she want to take questions?
Yeah, do you want to speak just for a couple of questions? Does anyone have some questions for McKenzie? Obviously, quite an involved project, and this is a freshman in high school, so we only see upward trajectory here. Right. Lots of questions. Okay, roving mic perhaps there, Professor.
All right.
To grab it, and would you use this mic?
Just a quick question, McKenzie. How long did this project take?
This project took about 8 months, I think, from when I started it last November to June when I competed at Nationals this year.
All
right.
Great. Next question.
This isn't exactly a question, but I'm 83 years old, and I vividly remember I was, I think, 12 when we heard of the 1941 December when Japan invaded the Hawaiian Islands. Now back to this, we had 3 women, I remember distinctly in our Greek Orthodox church, that got jobs. They put on slacks, and you know, women did wear slacks.
All my points.
It was Mrs. Mary Corrin, Mrs. Frances Pelotas, and Iris Borges. And those women worked as Rosie the Riveter. And there were others, I'm sure.
My mother and grandmother both worked in the munitions plant in Lebanon, Indiana. My mother experienced getting pregnant and being fired to go home and take care of her baby. My sister was always in trouble.
McKenzie, what are your career plans? Do you see yourself working in these factories yourself?
No way.
Well, hopefully you see
You might
yourself
have to
coming
touch
down
the
to
screen
MCC
to
College.
turn it on. I'm not sure, so I'll just stay here when she leaves. I'll go over there whether you get it going.
Sooner than later.
All right, can we thank her again?
Good job.